Good afternoon, everyone. To briefly introduce myself, I'm a PhD student supervised by Alain Bernard, Florent Laroche from the École Centrale de Nantes and Jean-Louis Carenton from University of Nantes. And today I'll talk about some research we are currently doing with Florent and Jean-Louis for the Museum of Nantes History. And more generally about methods and approaches we are working on for historical knowledge management. So let's start with a case study. So about a wooden model which was created in 19 representing Mount Arbor in the beginning of the 20th century. So this mock-up is very large because it measures 9.20 meters long and 1.85 meters wide, and it is hosted in the inside the museum. So visitors can see it in one of the room. And what we aim to do is to capitalize the knowledge represented by this object in a partnership with the museum. So the museum goals are to design a museographic system. You can see on the right. So there will be several touch screens in front of the object, and the touchscreens will display a human-machine interface for visitors that are connected to a database on the web, and to VPs that will highlight with luminous display the selected area, the area selected by the visitors. So the idea is to provide a better understanding of the object, to provide access to historical content, and to promote historical research on cultural heritage. As far as our methodology is concerned, what we aim to do is to combine historical sources and the physical mock-up by modeling the data, both semantic and geographic data, inside a database in order to be able to design any end-user application we want. So as you can see on the bottom right of the screen, we imagine both application in the real world. So, for example, inside the museum, as I showed you before, or in the city, for example, with augmented reality on mobile devices. But we also imagine to provide application for what let me call that a virtual world, for example, the immersive simulation inside the 3D model, for example, the 3D model of Nantes City, or a simple web access. So the process is to model the knowledge related to the object and the territory it represents. To do that, we link geographical information such as geographical information system do, and to 3D model in order to design end-user application. And these applications are always connected to the database that can be enriched on the web by experts or by general public. We started for the process. We started with a reverse engineering process. We digitized the object with hand scanners that provide us a 3D model. You can see in the middle of the screen. This model, thanks to algorithms we developed, we are able to identify automatically, for example, the grounds, the roofs, the walls, in order to create a semantic 3D model with CTGML, for example. But we are also able to generate automatically virtual worlds. And also we are able to generate a 2D vectorized vector map with building footprints. So what we aim to do with that is to provide historians, is to provide tools for historians in order to connect the geographical information to the semantic information coming from historical sources. So now, as far as knowledge modeling is concerned, we tried to imagine a model that can store historical information. So, in fact, we came to a meta model instead, because of the complexity of heterogeneous information. So we start from available information that are objects, physical objects, both present on the mock-up or in the city, for example, buildings, area, persons, or historical concepts. That can be, for example, industrial life in the 20th century. So on this subject, historians write sheets, for example, based on historical sources. It can be text, photographies, or videos. And to these objects, we link temporal and geometrical information based on Florent Laroche research works. And we link this object together in order to capitalize the historian's knowledge. So in fact, historians know which object is linked to each other, and we try to model this knowledge. So here is a picture of what our model provides to us. So this is a graph of concept, of historical concepts. We see that there are semantically different informations, and the idea now is to imagine, to provide automatic or semi-automatic suggestive links, for example, in order to bring to historians some new research problematics, for example, or to allow historical paths through points of interest. For example, I talked about augmented reality on mobile devices. So the idea is that the system would be able to provide to the visitor a path from a point of interest, for example, a building, to another, according to a global thematic subject, for example. I talk a little more about the museum system. The idea here is to provide an interface for the visitor in order to connect both the virtual information and the real object. So the complexity here is how to make the good choice in order to display heterogeneous information. For example, how will we display the building and the other points of interest that are linked to the selected object. For example, on the screen we can see a choice of colors, for example, but we also have to think about historical sources. We can see pictures, but we can imagine there are also other medias, such as video or sounds, and we try to imagine the better way to visualize historical information. So in order to demonstrate the concept, we developed and we designed in the past few months with the museum let, let's say a prototype with a similar object. So it's also a wooden model from the early 20th century, designed by the same author, and represent a part of a non-city. But this mockup is smaller than the previous one, so it's easier for us to test our hypothesis. So as you can see, there is the mockup, the touchscreen display in front of the mockup, and you can see it on the image, but you can imagine there is a video projector above the mockup. So here you can see that if the visitor select an area, the system automatically provide luminous highlight on the mockup, and will provide on the touchscreen historical information coming from the database. And you can see other luminous areas which represent links that are present in the database.
I would like to know about the graph you are creating. You have a quite simple meta model for the historical point of view. You saw it just before with a few, with one slide, and there is only 3 or 4 concepts for classes in your system: the object, the temporal geometry, the relationship, and the source, and the sources. Did you find any classification of the relationships related to historical effects? I mean, do you think that the process you are doing will help to identify the right ontology and the right relationship that you must make when you are doing history research or modelization of the knowledge? Because the point should be very interesting on this element for historian to know how to model properly the thing, I guess. And for right now with your model, you have just a graph of relations between facts. So it's not really an ontology or very well classified elements. You have many semantics that can be put on this very basic meta model. Do you imagine your application with visualization could help to better understand the type of relationships we could do and the type of objects or sources we have?
Yeah. In fact, we did not choose to start with ontology like modelization, because in fact there are already existing ontologies such as the CDOC, for example, which classifies several relationships for historical objects. But as you said, we imagine that the system will help historians to understand the relationship. So we do not start from a formal classification, but I would say we do the inverse process. So we start from what we know, and we construct the semantic graph by iterations. I'm not sure if it's clear. In fact, we just have so we have geographical relations due to the geometry, and we have just 2 or 3 types of links, which are basic links, and we imagine that the system will help historians and experts to construct and to annotate the model in order to provide classification related to the field or the center of interest the expert come from.
Yes, I see that indeed. Did you find that the historians were able to navigate in this big semantic graph? Because also visualization could help maybe to navigate more properly in these big graphs if you have what you have shown is very complex.
Yeah.
It will be nicely demonstrated when the job will be finalized for the museum, and you will have the output. You can select an area on the tactile surface, and you have the spotlight on the mock-up. That's very nice. But to create that, it will be quite difficult for historians the relationship. So maybe visualization could be used also in order to help historians to make the relationships and to better navigate in the graph itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, historians we worked with told us that the 3D model and the interface, the visualization interface, help them to understand the relations of the object in the city, and they told me that the 3D model and the system brought them additional information to understand the construction of the city and the relation between the objects. So you are absolutely right.
Would it be interesting in some way to negotiate with one historian to make a transnational access under Visionnaire in order to go in a virtual 3D cave? Why not in Germany or anywhere else where we have 3D caves, in order to visualize this graph and to help them make the connections and to see if it is better to do this job in a virtual reality cave than in a classical 2D panel with a flat graph, which is quite complex.
Yeah, we think about it. We think about doing this. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm writing it. Thank you.
I guess that it will be good transnational access. We are searching transnational access. Why not this one?
Okay.
Well, thanks. Maybe a last question. You use Clearform technology for
the scanner? Yeah.
How do you do in order not to put scotch or things on the mockup, because you must not touch the mockup, I guess.
Yeah. In fact, we put some we scotch some I don't know the word in English, but some circle, some brilliant circle. Pastille.
Yes.
Yeah. And we did
markers. Yeah.
Sorry. Markers. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. We attach some marker on a field, on a frame. Yeah. And we dispose it on the mockup with supervising by museum curators. We put it on the mockup without scotching, and then we put an array of
very well understood. It was what we saw when there was the picture of Florent Laroche.
Yeah. Maybe I can. Yeah.
It's a short view. Okay, I can understand. I can better understand the picture. So, okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So, Vinter, I'm quite like your interface where you combine the physical prototype with the touch table. And as I understand from your presentation, you also did a reverse engineering to get point cloud data to create a 3D representation of that space, right?
Yeah, right.
So have you, there are two aspects. So obviously you could have presented this model in a 3D table and do a very similar mock-up. So the 3D table could be driven by a touch table is one possibility. That what you've done is physical table and then obviously driven by a touch table. I was wondering whether you've done any user feedback to really see what the how the visitors perceive the interactivity and the acceptance of the technology when you try to present heritage information, whether you have done some comparison between the two tables.
Which other table are you talking about?
You have a 3D holographic table, for example.
Oh,
so you can, because you have the 3D data.
Yeah, we have the 3D data, but for instance, we do not have a device in order to in fact, we just show the 3D model. We do not make the experience in a cave in a immersive simulation.
No. What I was trying to say is, it will be, because I quite like your table, because it's very attractive. You know, people can see the physical aspect and stuff. But I was wondering, in terms of perception, whether how that 3D stereoscopic table will be perceived by the audience, whether it's much more informative in comparison with the physical table and so on. So just scientifically, it would be good to do a comparison. That's all I'm saying. But I really like what you've done. Yeah.
Yeah, we just started some experience since January, but we'll have more experience with visitors in June and in autumn. But for instance, we can see that there is a difficulty in linking the real object and the virtual object. But in fact, it depends on visitor. It's quite curious, but some people are focused on the touch screen and do not look at the real object, and some other are attracted by the real object and forget about the historical information displayed on the touchscreen. So we will continue to work on this aspect.
Yes, it was just in the continuation of the answer. It's why I interrupted. I was wondering if some see-through glasses, in order to use the tactile device and to get real augmented reality on the system, should not be a nice device for you. Even if it's quite expensive for a museum, if you think about treatment, but on the concept.
Maybe we will try for research interest, but I think for a museum it will be quite expensive. In fact, such touch screen, there are 27 inches for this small mock-up, and there will be 40 inches for the final system, and it's already quite expensive for the museum in terms of maintenance, and also for simple acquisition. But it's a good idea